Am I really only going to start talking about this now, 7 years or so after its end?
You're goddamn right.
Thanks, Walt. So in the first of a series that for now I'm calling Finally, where I talk about something that's at least 5 years old, that I've sat on and only got round to recently, we are talking Breaking Bad, created by Vince Gilligan, starring Bryan Cranston, Aaron Paul, Anna Gunn, Betsy Brandt, Dean Norris and RJ Mitty, as well as a great turn by Giancarlo Esposito and also by Mark Margolis. This was one of those where I was questioning why it took me so long to get round to it. And there are a couple of factors in this. One of the things that I know I'm prone to, and a lot of people I think are, if something's being raved about, I will sit on it for a while, because if everyone's talking about it and saying, oh, this was great, my opinion of it may be coloured by that. So it's nice to go in kind of fresh. Also, my partner and I, like a lot of couples, we'll sit and watch a show or a film with dinner, and that list on Netflix and Amazon Prime and everything else grows by, exponential levels. So we both got a lot of stuff on there, and it's all about what do I feel like, but also you feel like, and that compromise can be quite difficult sometimes. So we finally got around to this, and we both said, how and why did it take us so long? But I think younger me also wouldn't have appreciated it. There's a lot of nuance here, there's a lot of clever setup, there's a lot of intricate sort of story building, there's some great camera work, and obviously the acting is top notch. It's all at a par that everyone hits, which is great. But it is just one of those that I think when I was younger I wouldn't have taken the message that really should be there. There are people out there in the world I know who idolise Walter White, and that is missing the point entirely. You're not meant to idolise really anyone here. For those who need a refresher, Breaking Bad is the story of chemistry teacher Walter White, who in fact was doing great work in the field before, but personal issues meant he had to leave the company. But he's diagnosed on his 50th birthday with cancer. It seems inoperable, and long story short, he gets the idea to start doing meth. Not doing meth, making meth. Because what is the creation of a synthetic drug but chemistry? And over the course of 5 years for us, but only about 2 years for him, he gets embroiled in all sorts of horrific crime activities. He kills someone really quite early on in his career, and he just changes. Fortunately, his cancer does go into remission, but then comes back towards the end. And all the while, his brother-in-law is a DEA agent who is technically searching for him and also asking for his help with the case. It's, when you think about it on these levels, it's ridiculous. It's so outlandish. It's so crazy a premise. But it works. Everything comes together. I forgot to mention Bob Odenkirk as well in the opening, because he's great in this as well. Like I said, everyone here brings their A game. There's some people here I'm familiar with, like Cranston and Odenkirk. There's some people I've never seen in anything before, like Mitty and Anna Gunn. But every single person here gave something. And the thing that both Amy and I absolutely love this for, no one is perfect. You're rooting for everyone and no one at the same time, in a sense. Hank leans into this macho nonsense that is often peddled by law enforcement officers, unfortunately, still to this day. So he's not perfect at all, because he lets his health suffer because of that. His wife is a klepto who judges everyone else. And I did see the title of a video that I haven't watched. I try not to watch anything on Breaking Bad before seeing it or before doing this video. But there is a title of a video where it's like, is she kind of like Walter White lies? And I can see that. Maybe I'll watch that at some point down the line. I'll link it for those who are interested. Skylar herself, a lot of people who, again, seem to idolise Walt wrongly, see her as just, this hard-edged female dog. And yes, okay, she kind of is, but if you look at her motivation, she's doing it for good reasons. That said, she still allowed it to get to a certain point before having these misgivings. All of these things that were happening, she just doesn't... I think there's a point in the series where she's willfully ignorant. There is a turning point where she's just refusing to acknowledge what is actually going on. I think she figures it out a lot sooner. I think Walt Jr., or Flynn, is the cleanest character, but that's because he's still a kid, I guess. You know, he's a teenager, but he has less on him, and obviously Holly when she comes along. But they're the only people, I think, who really have anything. Although, again, towards the end, after he's seen his mom get the knife to protect him, he then turns it around when he's talking to the police that, in fact, it's his dad who brandished the knife. So maybe he's not as perfect as I remember, actually. But this was absolutely brilliant. The pacing of it, and the fact that they've got so many people who have backgrounds in comedic works makes a lot of sense. I've said in so many videos by now that anyone who's watched all of my videos will think it sounds like a broken record. But if you want good drama and serious acting, get the funny guy. Timing, delivery, and knowing how to sell a moment is intrinsic to comedy. And that transfers to any other type of acting. Anyone who wrote it off at the start saying, like, Bryan Cranston, the bumbling dad from Malcolm in the Middle, what, as a meth kingpin, is this a comedy as well? You know, I can understand people having that misgiving. To be honest, I think that was a little of my misgivings at the start as well. It's like, how can that work? No, that's not right. This is a funny show, surely. But no, it was serious. But it did lean into the silly a lot of the times, and it played to the strengths of its actors, and that's always something I respect. If you know your actor can do certain things well, give them the opportunity. And I think this made a lot of people really take Bryan Cranston as an actor a lot more seriously. I know he'd done a lot of stuff before, but for most people's minds, he was a funny guy, that's it. But this showed his levels of nuance, and absolutely brilliant. I also have great respect, going back to RJ Mitty, the fact that Walt was written with cerebral palsy and they got someone with that in the role. I always like that when, shows, if you're going to have a character with a disability, have someone with the disability play a character. It just makes sense. You're not having people do a over-the-top or ridiculous version of it. You're having someone who knows the struggle. Fortunately, RJ himself can move a lot better than Walt. He's had a lot of sort of surgery and treatment over the years. He has had to use, braces and crutches at some point, but now he moves mostly unaided, as far as I can tell. But I just love the fact that he portrayed the role so well, and like I say, everything about this was brilliant. I think maybe, not next week, but in a few weeks, I do want to sort of analyse one of my favourite moments of staying true to a character. And it's going to be difficult to figure out how to show the scenes for it. I think that's going to be part of the work as well. But the end of Gus Fring, Giancarlo Esposito's character, was amazing. The explosion in the nursing home. Also the last moment of Margolis as well. But that moment where he walks out of the room, adjusts his tie, and we then see the extent of the damage. The last vestiges of Gus in there, want to make sure he looks as good as he can given the circumstances. I really want to look at this scene and break it down because there's so much here that was amazing to me. Amy is in the medical field. She works in a hospital. And even she was like, that's weirdly actually, it does make sense. It's brilliantly done. And the fact that the moment is sold to us so well, I really want to go and sort of do an anatomy of a scene at some point down the line. So look forward to that. But I think that's it that I want to talk about for Breaking Bad. I could talk about it for ages in theory, talk about all my favourite moments, but I don't want to make an hour-long video on that. I know I've got one coming in the future that's going to be a bit long, so I just, if you haven't got around to it, why are you watching this video where I've spoiled the entire plot? Pretty much. But, yeah, if you haven't got around to it, give it a go. If you've not watched it for a while, give it a go. I will be watching El Camino at some point as well, and Better Call Saul, the series. But for now, just on my experience with the original show that started it all off, I think it was great. And I do want to end with something else. So I know a lot of people were not necessarily happy with the ending. They felt it was somewhat ambiguous. But to me and Amy, it was pretty clear-cut. This is a man who is now, again, dealing with cancer, with a rather severe gunshot wound. The pullouts seem to show his pupils maybe starting to dilate quite a bit. Even if he survives that end scene and is picked up by the police, he may not even survive the journey to the cells or the hospital. If he does survive those, it's still probably not going to be that long afterwards, realistically. his body is not equipped to deal with a gunshot wound of that magnitude. Even people whose bodies are 100% fit may not survive a gunshot of that magnitude. So to me, it's pretty clear cut. I don't think there's a chance of survival. I mean, El Camino may prove that right or wrong. As I say, I haven't seen that yet. But either way, I enjoyed this series. If you haven't seen it yet, I don't know why you've watched this video and had it all spoiled, but your call. You do you. But even if you haven't seen it for a while, and give it another go and see if you can spot some of the threads that were set up early. Did you hate some of the characters? Did you feel that, yes, none of them were perfect? Let me know all of this in the comments, and any suggestions for any other TV shows or series or films that I haven't seen yet. Feel free to pop them down there, but until next time, thank you for watching and take care.